Episode 22, 22 like my rims, dog. Were you ever a Rob Dyrdek fan, Nick?
Yeah, dude. Rob Dyrdek's from my neck of the woods, my man.
No way, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're very familiar. I mean, between him
Yeah.
and
Hey, Robin Big was off the hook.
hey, I was gonna say, Mr. Big, R.I.P. Christopher Big Black Boykin. 22 is like my rims, dog. When I see those clips come up on social, that's one of the best parts of the internet is being able to re-see those ever so often.
Hey, do you remember when they had to take him to the aluminum plant to weigh him? That was like one of my favorite moments in TV history.
I do now. I do remember that.
Yeah, you remember it now.
You just dusted that off the hard drive, dude. What
100%.
a good time. The Pontiac what is it? Ferrario?
Oh, wait, don't do this. Hey,
What do you mean?
Pontiac Fiero?
Fiero. There we go.
What are you talking? Hey, you might get banned from a car podcast if you don't know the Fiero, dog.
We were talking Ferrari before this, and I was like, oh, yeah, see, it's just all full circle, man. That's a great-looking car. I don't want to disparage the name of what is it again?
Fiero.
Fiero. Damn, all right, I promise I'll remember this. But
that's just an age thing, so everybody knows that's an age thing right there.
That's true. What is that? That's a late 80s car, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's 80s, early 90s probably.
Yeah, for sure. Probably not a 90s. I don't think most people in the 90s were like, yeah, I got this Pontiac Fiero.
Oh, yeah, no. Look, man, Fiero's, once again, do not disparage the Fiero. I just told you.
I'm sorry.
I just told you the Fiero crowd is going to come for your neck, dude.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. We're discovering a lot of niche audiences. Like, let me say it right. Some people hate it when you say niche, so it's niche audiences that'll come out of the woodwork.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, look, we had a conversion van, crew come out of the woodwork when we talked about conversion vans. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I had somebody literally ask me like, "Hey, what do you think about the new 6.6 in the Express van? Is it better than the old 6.0?" And I'm like, "Bro, I mean, that's a great question. I don't know.
We're not big on the Express van.
No, but I mean, the old
circuit.
Vortex are around forever. I would imagine it's better. I don't know.
Yeah.
But hey, everyone's had their world filled with this tariff talk and all of everybody's perspectives on it. So we have to talk about it because every car manufacturer is making moves, and the people must know. I consider myself a man of the people. Nick is more of the higher of the hierarchy.
Shut up. Hey, I'm over here talking about conversion vans, my guy.
Please tell the people with the information on the tariffs in the car industry. But in all seriousness, you've got a really interesting perspective people were asking. So I'm going to let you choose. Do we start with BMW, Mercedes, Audi? Who do you want to start with?
Oh, you have to start with Audi. I think Audi.
The first one.
Yeah, Audi made. So you can always tell poorly run companies when they are forced to make a knee-jerk decision, and it's always 100% wrong. Okay, Audi is, to me, really, really towing the line whether they're going to stay a luxury brand or not, because they're doing non-luxury brand things.
You mean like Infiniti kind of, or Acura?
Yeah, Infiniti, Acura, now Audi. For those that don't know, Audi's basically been in a free fall, the last 5 to 7 years? Mm-hmm. I mean, first of all, they weren't redesigning things. So if you look at Audi, so let's walk through Audi, what Audi meant. Audi was always great design, high quality interiors. Cars would understeer pretty heavily, but, fun engines, fun cars. You could go rip them around. Who's buying an Audi for that now? Who's buying an Audi going, man, look at this really cool design they got on the RS3 or whatever? That's just kind of largely, I mean, you probably remember this. I mean, I remember seeing the matte RS7 and when it came out and going, oh yeah, man, this is awesome. Well, it's the same design, 12 years later.
Yeah.
That's not luxury brand things when that's what you're known for. You're known for exciting design. You're known for unique design. You're known for high. They essentially really don't do anything that most of us know them for very well at this point in 2025.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff that would allow things to be forgiven, right? So you talk about understeer, you talk about certain aspects of the car, like, oh, it's forgiven because, the slew of things you just mentioned that were great, but nothing really has been great for those that are already fans of them in the last, like you said, 5 to 7 years. So what they're doing here to get to the main topic of Audi is that they had cars that are basically, they're at the docks, right? So they've already been, they've landed they're at the port, and they're not giving them to dealers, right? Because of the 25% tariffs, which is kind of
5 minutes in, by the way, 5 minutes into the tariffs. 5 minutes in.
Yeah, they made the decision, like, yeah, no, what, they're going to stay right there. They have about, I read 37,000 units, meaning they have about 2 months' supply of cars. Just with that information, How does that? I mean, that's kind of that's cutting it close for having
Well,
things.
let's use it this way. I own a manufacturing company, as you know, with my business partner Marshall.
Right.
And since the election, we have been talking about the way tariffs are going to impact our business. So that's better part of 5 months. If we were talking about it, BMW was talking about it, Audi was talking about it, General Electric was talking about it, Honeywell was talking, everyone was talking about it. To get to when it happens and make this decision says that you had thousands of conversations inside your organization for a better part of 5 months, and this was your solution. To allow things to rot on the dock. Now, let's talk about, for those that don't know, sort of the supply chain. The port is a very dangerous place to have your cars sitting because massive amounts of damages happen. We say this all the time. There's a high likelihood that you know someone, or it could have happened to you, who's had a car totaled at the port and sold to you with no damage had ever happened to the car. Because that doesn't go on the Carfax, people, which is why we tell you Carfax is a little bit shaky. So the port is a place that most manufacturers go, how fast can we get it out of the port?
Right.
Okay. Now, number one is because it's sitting on the port means you're not making money. I understand that part. The second part of the port is it's anarchy. Anything can happen. The other thing is you don't want cars to extend their life of what we call lot rot, where seals and plastics and trim around the outside, and most times you see this around the trim around sunroofs. You don't want to see lot rot any more than you're already going to see it. It's sitting at the port longer, gives me more lot rot on my cars. So when you look at this, for this to be your best solution that you came up with in 5 months shows an incompetence that I'm not really certain can even be put into words, in my opinion.
I take everything you just said and I agree, and then I say, okay, what if we try to give them some benefit of the doubt and say, if we're talking about a company that has been declining, we'll say, just from interest and moves that they're making for the last 5 to 7 years, does this give them some excuse to those people to say, look, like this didn't help our causes. We were on the verge of doing this, X, Y, Z, whatever for the consumer, and now they can kind of even push the brakes even further and take their time regaining trust with their audience.
Well, I don't mind that, except for you want a surefire way to piss off a luxury buyer is to not have the cars that they want.
Very true.
Right? So in
When
that
they want it.
37,000 cars, let's not forget this part of it. Somebody's ordered a car.
Right.
Some percentage of those cars have been ordered by a consumer. Now, if it's me and it's my dream car, I might wait it out. If I'm a normal luxury buyer, I'm going to the BMW, the Mercedes, the whatever Lexus dealership down the road.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not going to deal with this. And so you have, this is why I say we're getting to the place where if this is where they stay and this is what their executive team's going to do, the Volkswagen Auto Group has a real decision to make here on what is Audi going to do. They're pretty much irrelevant as we sit here today as a brand as a whole. Okay. And people are going to say, well, I love Audi. I hear you, man. As a brand, they're about as irrelevant as they've been in my lifetime. Okay. I mean, the last 5 to 7 years have been about as bad as it can get, because think about this. They declined during the biggest boom in the car business's history.
That's true. And the number one car, for better or for worse, is I think the Q5. the
Q5 is their biggest seller. But you look at it and you go, how did you guys speak for 5 months? And this was your best solution. When Mercedes, again, the luxury brand you're probably chasing, goes, don't sweat it, man. We got it. We're going to lock prices in for 2025 models. You guys do your thing. We'll figure it out. What does that mean? That means Mercedes took the 5 months of conversation, figured out what they needed to do, and that's what great companies do. Great companies don't, I liken it to this, and we've been having a lot of this talk on my manufacturing side. This is what I tell people. If you've ever driven on a windy road where there's like a cliff or something next to it that you could drive off of, bad companies hit a tiny pebble and they fall off the cliff. Okay? Good companies just hit the pebble and they don't know the pebble was there.
Right.
Okay? Nobody's sitting here talking about the political stuff about tariffs, okay? That's not what we're speaking about. They knew for 5 months this was coming. Nobody should have been surprised about tariffs. The president of the United States has been talking about it for 40 years when he wasn't the president.
Right. Very good point.
Okay?
And yes, and on top of that, maybe for people that don't know, Mercedes, unlike Audi, has a bigger footprint in the United States when it comes to manufacturing. A lot of their cars are already made in the States.
Yes.
So what does that say about the overall plan of what Audi was aiming to do anyway in the long, like, were they
Well,
even
the Volkswagen Auto Group has a real fundamental problem, I think, throughout a lot of lineups, which is why they're doing what they're doing with Scout, right? They want Scout to be here. They want it to be manufactured. So they understand they have a problem. So let's not, just take shots at them. They obviously understand they need to come more stuff in the United States. The point is, once you reach the port, you guys should have already been prepared to pay the tariff. And here's the thing. If you paid the tariff and you were upset about what it took out of your profit margin, just raise the price, whatever you need to raise it to get you to a happy place. At least the cars are there. Now, I get it. We can all talk about you're not competitive at that point, but letting them rot on the port is literally the worst decision you could have made, less than 5 days into the tariffs. They made this decision. So we have to start talking about when you see bad companies on a bad run and you don't see massive change and then a bump in the road comes. It could be COVID, supply chain, it could be this, it could be that, it could be whatever. You have a situation that you see what Audi did. And then you see Mercedes, and Mercedes is like, yeah, we're all good. We'll figure it out.
Every week, I mean to turn my sound off, and I always get a notification that comes through. I'm like, God damn it, turn your sound off, Rob. Rookie mistake. But, to go back to what you're saying, I think, podcasts like this and other shows that choose to actually kind of, get in the weeds a little bit about these conversations and talk a little bit more openly about the manufacturing, the importing, the exporting, the ports, lot rot, that kind of stuff, instead of just talking about just the cars and just how good the ride quality is and just how much it understeers.
Well, or how about, guys, we don't need to talk about everyone's political opinion on the tariffs.
Yeah, no.
You have your opinion. The next guy has their opinion. It doesn't matter when you're in business because it's there and you got to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to talk about how are these people and how are other people that might be in similar shoes on a smaller scale navigate through these waters, right? We're just kind of giving you different perspectives of it. So when you look at companies like Audi versus Mercedes, people will say, or let me ask you, what about from the manufacturer to the dealership? Where does a price go when somebody like Mercedes says, we're not going to raise prices, we're going to absorb it? Do the dealerships then say, well, hey, here's an opportunity to kind of bump the price up because we don't know when stock will be at the levels it is now?
Yeah, it depends on, Mercedes is probably, I would assume, very heavily involved with their dealer network saying, hey, we're going to eat this percentage. You guys eat this percentage. We're going to go to our suppliers of non-Mercedes things. They're going to eat percentages. My guess is all of the top dealers and all of the top people globally were already in contact for 5 months. They already knew. So I talked to somebody who's very involved in the financing of large scale things like, manufacturing efforts and whatever. Mm-hmm. He said right off the grip that every manufacturer had already guaranteed all their top customers they're going to eat 50% of whatever tariff there was. Mm. That was already baked in. The thing that surprises me, even talking to people that probably should know better than us, everyone was caught off guard with this sort of 25% or 22% tariff. The funny thing is, in our manufacturing business, I thought that's what it was going to be.
Right. You're already expecting.
I was like, how was everyone so caught off guard? And what it says is either Audi had the conversations and they were so poorly managed that they were just having the wrong conversations, which is probably what happened, or they didn't even have the conversations at all.
Do you think
both of them are horrible?
You think they could have just been dismissive of them too?
Yeah, well, tariff's going to be, at the EU, we tariff their cars, 2.5% or 10% or whatever, and that's what they'll do to us. It's like, okay, but another 10% on top of that, and you guys flipped your lid.
Right.
That doesn't add up, right? Like I get being kind of caught off guard, but that doesn't mean you go, let me shut my business down. Look, Land Rover Jaguar has the same exact problem. It's like, 5 minutes into the tariff, they lost their mind. And you go, well, let's look at Jaguar. I mean, they didn't run that very well.
Yeah, they're
So
also not making cars for the next year, right? We've talked about that before. So before we get to Jaguar, Land Rover, and all them, back to Mercedes real quick. I'm glad that you mentioned it and said the phrase. You're pretty sure they have a pretty good conversation or relationship with their dealer network.
Yeah.
And I brought up our boy Bins and Bowties, or Bowties and Binses, because people like him love his content, love what he does. He's very transparent. The whole thing. This isn't taking shots at him particularly, but his stuff is popping up more. Was to a level, my words, not Nick's, fear-mongering, like he didn't know what was going to happen. Their dealer, they had no idea what was going to, hey, come down, you want to get the car now? You know what I mean?
True.
Like, that's not a good way to voice, I guess, your brand's, vision or next move.
No, and I agree with you. Don't you think it was a lot of, he's at the dealer level and he's trying to push sales. So he was trying to fear monger to get people to come into the dealership and get the car you want now, because who knows what's going to happen.
Right.
And right behind saying all of that, Mercedes goes, we got you. Right.
Literally 48 hours later.
Yeah. So you have to understand, I mean, all of us, I mean, I'm saying the general all of us, that a lot of stuff that was going on at the dealer level was just about you getting you to come in and buy cars right now.
Right.
And that's exactly what he did. I would assume.
Yeah.
Because he knew better. And by the way, he seems so educated on what Mercedes is doing. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine he was left that far out of the dark, out in the dark. I just don't believe that. But again, you got to realize their job is to move cars.
Yeah.
So
move the metal.
Move metal, right? So if he feels like he can go on and entice you to come buy 5 G-Wagons right now that you weren't going to buy, then at the end of the day, that's what his job is to do. But they knew. Matter of fact, I was texting with somebody. He's one of the biggest dealer principals for Mercedes on the West Coast, if not the United States. We do some stuff with him in his private collection. And I'll tell you, he just kind of wrote back like, yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we knew Mercedes was going to do. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't get deep and go, were you on the phone with Mercedes North America for 5 months?
Yeah.
But this is the guy probably moving the most Mercedes in the United States, all put together in his network. He didn't seem caught off guard. And at the end of the day, you're never really caught off guard if a company is well run. Right. And that's the Audi problem. They're poorly run. They've been poorly run for a long time, and this is what you see. I mean, go back to my driving analogy. Little bumps in the road throw off bad drivers. Little bumps in the road do not throw off top-level drivers. And that's the same in a company. I'm not saying this is a little thing, and I'm not saying let's go in the comments and have this political conversation about tariffs. I think it's irrelevant. I think the whole political talk around tariffs when you're talking about business is fucking pointless. Mm-hmm. Because they're here. They're in some form. We're in this world. Let's get to solving the problem, which is what great companies do. Yep. They don't sit there and cry about there being tariffs.
Correct. Real quick, that my boy had batting practice. He had baseball practice last night, and we're in the hill country. We're up in Austin hill country area. We're at a ballpark. Dude, the nicest black on black murdered out G-Wagon, but the guy had been using this thing. Like, you could tell it was off road. Like, it wasn't filthy, but it was going through some shit. I was like,
yeah,
I should have
you
snapped a
go,
picture before we were getting out of it.
Using it what it's for. Did you have a ladder on the back, brother?
He didn't, but had he not been,
he could have used one.
He could have used one. I would have been like, "Hey, you thinking about getting a whittle for your G-Wagon?" And in the same day, so yesterday morning, I was getting gas early on, and there was this Defender at the gas station. So it was really early, real quick for everybody, because we know Nick loves these vehicles. I pull up. There's 3 other cars there. There's a Defender, myself, and another car. Walking to the gas station, there must have been workers on the backside. So there's like, I'm Mexican, I'm brown. I can say this. There was some brown people over here, and I was like, definitely not their Defender. There was the clerk. There was one other person where the ice cream was very early. It was like 7 a.m. Like, why are you getting ice cream at 7 a.m.? And I'm like, whose Defender is this? And then I see at the corner of my eye this lady walk out of the restroom, all pink suit with a Coach sling. I'm like, that's definitely hers.
That's your Defender. She walked
in front of me, right? And she was very nice. She's like, excuse me. And I was like, ma'am, is that your Defender? She's like, it is. I go, it's beautiful. She goes, thank you. I love that thing. I've had 3 of them. I was like, good for you.
Could have had 3 of them for any one number of reasons. We all acknowledge that. Could have had 3 of them because like the other 2 fried themselves, but they still look cool as hell.
Yeah, or because they were awesome and she just wanted a new one.
Either one. But I tell you what, they're badass.
Yeah, they're really cool. I told my wife, like, I kind of wanted to say, hey, can I take a picture with you in this Defender? And she's like, I'm really glad he didn't do that.
I want to put this on our Instagram.
Yeah, I really wanted to explain to her, like, hey, look, real quick, 5 seconds. I got a viral post about these Defenders. Can I take pictures?
I'm not a creep, I promise.
I swear I thought about it. It's like, look, I'm married. I just really want to take this picture with you in this
Yeah.
Defender.
Oh,
But
that'd been
so
hilarious.
speaking about them, so Land Rover, Jaguar, the whole thing, pausing imports for 30 days. So pausing it all together, which is it different, I guess, to ask you from what Audi's doing? They're just not bringing them over. Audi already had them here.
Yeah, I think it's all stupid. I think we need to just call it what it is. And again, if you would have gotten this out of the blue, this is all understandable. None of this was out of the blue. None of it. So your plan was, if I get a little bit of bad news, I'm just going to stop bringing cars. That's not a solution for a car company. Just like it's not a solution. Look, there's a lot of stuff that comes out of China. The smart companies are just going to figure out how to make this tariff thing work.
Yeah, they'll just pivot.
They're just going to have to do that, because the alternative is losing customers, losing market share, making unhappy customers. People don't sit well when they want to buy something that they've been buying from you and you don't have it, especially the luxury customer.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
remember.
well, go ahead.
Yeah, we're talking about a segment of the population that probably their biggest gripe in life is they don't want to be inconvenienced.
Right.
They pay lots of money to avoid inconvenience. Like, I'll give you an example. There's certain ways to go to Disneyland and Disney World, okay?
And Nick's
You
going
can
to
just-
explain the one that you should take.
Yeah, you can go stand in line, or you can pay the 10 grand per family and just go to the front of the line,
Yeah.
right?
That's an option too. What is it, Lightning Pass or something?
Yeah, whatever it's called, okay?
Yeah.
If you're an adult that's by yourself at Disney products,
Got to reevaluate our life.
got to reevaluate your life. But
Just like,
here's what I'll say. People pay, especially in the upper echelon buyer, to not be inconvenienced. So now you have Land Rover with their Range Rover product, who saw 25% year-over-year growth in that product line. Pretty risky to do this.
yeah.
Pretty risky to do this, because you know what? You finally got where you wanted to go. You're at the top of the mountain. You know, you've overcome the quality control issues and this and that. Your new body is something everybody's talking about in the luxury buying space. Why the hell would you do this now? Especially when you had 5 months to get prepared. Now, if what you were saying to yourself is, if the tariffs are going to be really bad, so why didn't you double and triple production and get the cars over here? Oh, well, we don't have capacity. Well, we don't have, okay. But at the end of the day, this is not the right call either. Now, maybe this is all avoided because now we're not in this reciprocal tariff thing. We're in this 10% tariff world, and they're all going to back off of this. But why was this the call? Especially for luxury brands? Incredibly stupid. And the other thing is, we are moving to a world with 3D printing. And I got this from some pretty heavy hitters in the manufacturing world. With 3D printing, as it gets better, all manufacturers are looking to move manufacturing more localized to where they're selling products. The car business is going to have to find a way to do that, even though I know 3D printing is not going to impact their business heavily as quickly as other things. Land Rover, Audi, these companies need to understand that you need to get localized manufacturing in some shape or form into the U.S. They're not going to do it. And I know that's going to take years, and let's say all this out loud. Okay, it's not going to happen tomorrow. We understand building facilities takes a long time. But as everybody watched COVID and watched the supply chain get so mucked up and have all kinds of problems, to not shore up the biggest market that you sell to seems like a pretty bad decision as we sit here today. Because again, nobody saw COVID coming. But it happened. It was a bump in the road. Then nobody saw, evidently, some of these companies didn't know that the tariffs were going to happen, although everybody had been hearing it for 40 years from the guy. At the end of the day, things happen, and they're going to happen more globally. there's going to be more unrest globally in the next 20 years than these manufacturers have seen in probably the previous 20 years. That's pretty obvious to anybody in the manufacturing business. I'm not sure why it's not obvious to them.
It comes from China. I know Nick loves his voice. But anyway, so, we talk about the audiences of these manufacturers. So we're talking about losing market share. We're talking about losing the customer. I would almost classify as brand loyalty as a separate thing. I know they're similar, but as much as these companies have spent for decades money on attaining brand loyalty, to lose it like this, that's something you might not gain back like ever.
Yeah, and especially, again, people are going to the luxury market is finicky. It's finicky because people in that marketplace, they don't have to be loyal. They have the money not to be loyal.
That's the perk.
That's the perk. I mean, this is kind of what everybody's talking about the ultra-rich globally. They're not loyal to the U.S. or Dubai or the EU. They're loyal to wherever they want to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so all these people that go, oh, the billionaires in America, folks, they're not loyal to this place. They'll do whatever they got to do to go wherever they want to go. So when you're in that top echelon of buyer, that's the hardest person to get loyalty from as a brand, because they got the money to buy whatever they want. And I think this is a risk. Now, will it all be moot and there'll be no problems and nothing will happen? Yeah, I mean, that could be the outcome. But to put this out there the way these brands have done it, I think is a mistake. Yeah. Because what's the purpose? What is your end goal here? But to tell everybody, maybe we're not as strong financially. I just don't know why you would put that in the world.
Well, going back to Jaguar particularly, they were already, like we said, they were already not going to produce cars.
Yeah, that's an irrelevant. Right? I mean, they made themselves irrelevant. They couldn't sell Jaguars when it was awesome.
Right.
And good
they had
times.
A hard time then. Yeah. So this, if anything, kind of helps them, don't you think, in a sense? Like, we were already not going to make these cars and sell them over there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps Jaguar. It doesn't help Land Rover as a whole.
No, it hurts them
right?
for sure.
It hurts Land Rover. Now, again, guys, they can all reverse course very quickly, get some product on the boat. Maybe they're delayed 2 and 3 weeks, but you won't notice that in the supply chain. It's just a matter of, if they stick this out too long and all of a sudden you drive by a Land Rover dealership and you go, there's no Range Rovers to buy, there's no, Defenders to buy that people want, because remember, you're very spec dependent also. So somebody may see you have Range Rovers on the lot and go, I don't like those. Why don't you have these other 3 specs on the lot? And then you got to look at them and go, well, tariffs. It's like, come on, man. Like that's just a stupid reason.
Let's continue on the topic, but have a little bit of a palate cleanser here. I had this reel sent to me twice, actually, and it's so funny when I just get random car stuff sent to me from people that, listen to the show, and I just want to get your perspective on it, because we're talking about car sales, dealerships, the whole industry of it, right? So let me give you the sound here, and we're just going to listen to this real quick, and I want to get Nick's take on it.
I understand wanting to negotiate price. I get that. But if you come in and just ask me what's your best price,
it's on the website.
It's on the website. Like, what do you want me to say? Now, it's another thing if you bring me an offer. If you bring me an educated offer. Now, there is a difference between an offer and an educated offer, because an offer is just, if the car's priced at $20,000 and they're just like, I'm going to pay $17,500 for that. Why? You have to be able to back up why. Whenever you're going to go buy a blender at Big Lots and they say they price match, well, you can't just walk in and say, hey, they have it at Walmart for X amount of dollars, price match this. They're going to be like, no, go away. You have to have something where it's like, okay, the books are this, somebody else has it for this, somebody else has it for this. And then my next question is going to be, why are you here? Because if somebody else has it for cheaper, there's a reason you don't want theirs.
Right.
So if there's one that is legitimately priced lower and there's some reason that you don't want it, you don't like the dealership, whatever the case may be, we'll look at that. And that's the thing, especially if it's only a couple $100 difference. Hell yes, we'll look at that. People who just come in and say, hey, I want a discount just because isn't a reason.
All right. Nick, your thoughts, sir?
He's right. You need to be educated when you go into the dealership as why you're going to ask them for what you want, right? The thing that he's saying is there's a recoil that happens when, we use the word hardo as a joke here on this podcast.
Yeah.
But when you walk in and go, I ain't going to pay over $32,000 for that Ford you got on the dealership lot over there. They're not going to be your friend, because they're just going to stick their middle finger up and go, buddy, get out of here. Right? And that's what people think negotiating is. They think negotiating is telling somebody in a very disrespectful manner that car truck you have is only worth this. What I would say is, if you've done your research and you look at the depreciation schedule, you look at what's happening with the cars. This is kind of most prevalent in something like the Cybertruck, right? The Cybertruck is just in free fall.
Right.
Okay. So you look at people that sold their Cybertruck, bought it for 100, sold it for 110. Those days are gone. I mean, you've lost 40, 50% from there at this point, right? So if you walk into a dealership, you have to know that if you go in there as a hardo, man, they're just going to stick their middle finger up. These guys, they don't like that. So that isn't the best way. To massage it, which is what he's telling you, is come in here a little bit more respectful and explain to me, hey, why do you want that price? Then absolutely, they're more willing to have the conversation. Like, just think about how you want to be treated. You don't want somebody walking into your business going, "Hey, you're not worth anything. I'll give you $100." It's like that's not gonna, that isn't. But that's what people do. I mean, let's be clear. I know a lot of these. Yeah, I know a lot of these people, man, that go, "You won't believe." I go, "No, I'll believe it. I believe it. Like, I believe how people act." And so what you have to do is you got to be a little bit tactful about massaging the deal in your favor.
Tactful. That's a great word. So for those that sent the two that sent that clip, I don't think they were fans of the way he worded it, which I could see it, right? He was very like, yeah, he's very snooty about it. And it's like, look, the example he gave was 17 grand for, like, funny enough, it is a Ford dealership. Let's just say you do have a truck that you have it listed for 20 and you say, hey, I'll give you 17.5. It's not a crazy, considering how old that truck probably is of a thing to say. To just say, no, leave. Like, you're not going to do that over 3 grand. You're probably going to meet somewhere in the middle. So, like, that was just kind of a bad example overall. And for those that sense it, again, they probably don't like the fact that you need to be tactful. They probably don't like the fact that you should be a little bit more are the deal, right? Like, how do I negotiate this in my favor? But at the end of the day, you have to do that. Or you do have to go to another dealership, and maybe they will just take you at your offer.
Yeah, like, let's say you end up at 18.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got $1,500 off.
Hell yeah.
What you can say is, hey, guys, at $20,000, like, let me give people an example. At $20,000, I'll pay you the $20,000, okay? But there is no extra fee going on top of that. I'm going to pay you exactly $20,000.
Yes.
Now, that is a negotiation, because if I get to 18.5, but they still put all their fees on it, and I'm back at 20, I was going to be at 20 anyway. Right? So I think a better negotiating tactic for a lot of people, especially when you're talking about sub $40,000 cars, is know what you want to pay, but then go, this is what they want me to pay. If I think about tax, title, all this nonsense on top of it, okay, they got it for 38. I can pay 38 if they just don't charge me $1 more. If I don't have to have this fee, that fee, this. So now all of a sudden you were trying to get 36, but 36 with tax and title and all, you're going to be at 38.7, or you can get everything 38,000 all in. That's what we mean by tactful, is you got to understand, I want to walk out the door price, and on a $20,000 vehicle, let me say this, the odds that they have $5,000 to play with is pretty slim. Pretty slim. Okay. Now you say, well, they're going to make $5,000. Guys, they got to pay the bills. We say this all the time. The business has to make money. That is what it is. If you have a problem with that aspect, you're always going to have a problem with everybody that sells you anything. So when we look at this, you have to be honest with yourself that the lower the price the car, the less movement you're going to get. Okay. Now you go to a $200,000 car, you got some space. Right, you got some breathing room to start talking about a deal. You go to a $125,000 car, you have less breathing room than a $200,000 car. So a lot of people that try to negotiate this way are sort of sub 40 grand, and they think there's all this money being made. And you go, man, I'm telling you, in normal economic conditions at the dealership, there's not as much wiggle room sub 40 grand as you have in your head. And so walking in there and go, I'm not paying this. It's like, these guys just aren't going to do business that way.
Let's continue the palate cleanser here. I had this one sent to me as well. Since we're talking about prices of cars, the caption's kind of pretty much like, what do you think is the worst value? And I'm not going to play the sound because it's a terrible song, but we're just going to go through the video. And it's at a car show, or not a car show, but like a convention or whatever. We got the 24 Dodge Hornet, okay? The RT plus tech, as shown, $50,000 for an MSRP of $46,000. I'm going to keep it rolling. The 24 RT Charger, $70,970. The ID Buzz, 72.5 for the 25 version.
All mistakes.
The 24 Mustang GT Premium, 55.7.
Oh, my God.
The 24 Silverado, 4-cylinder, 47.6. The 25 Cadillac, your favorite, the IQ EV, $132,215. The 24 Silverado EV, $96,000. The AMG S63 Performance, pretty sweet, he says, $197,825. Your favorite, your BMW i7 M70 all-wheel drive, $200K.
Oh.
The Grand Wagoneer Obsidian 4x4, $110,400. What was the worst value in this lineup?
IQ Escalade and the Wagoneer.
Okay, IQ Escalade Wagoneer. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, the Escalade, and I've seen them driving around now. I believe we've been contacted. We're gonna have one here in person. They look great in person. There still doesn't make sense when you think that this EV is probably going to fall off the table 50. I said it's probably a candidate for a 60% 1 year depreciation. The Wagoneer, I'm kind of surprised that Jeep is sticking to their guns here. I am. I know people might find that shocking. They know they can't sell them at 110. That Stellantis knows that they can't sell a lot of those units at 110. I will say this till the end of the earth. The Wagoneer is an awesome vehicle in that $60,000 to $70,000 range. Like, that's where they should have been. This should have been there, and then they should have gotten Cherokee back under control in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. They should have had Wagoneer in the $60,000 and $70,000 range. They're so far out of the game that one's probably going to continue to take the cake even over the Escalade. Now, people are going to hear the number of the AMG, whatever. That's just a different buyer. That's why I would say it's not as big a deal, because that buyer, they don't care, right? I think you are getting into a really strange buyer with Escalade at 135, which, by the way, the one you want is really going to run you like 150 plus, just so you know. I mean, the odds you're going to get the one you want for 132 when the base price is 128, that isn't happening. It may happen when they don't sell all of them, but I'm telling you, all the ones I've seen, it's 150 plus for the things you would want. And it's just, look, man, they're going to sell a couple of them. They're going to sell a few of them. They're a brand doing very well right now, so we're nowhere near being able to get on General Motors and their ideas, but Jeep is in a whole different category. They're in free fall with the Wagoneer.
It's so unfortunate for the amount of people that actually bought that thing. What they're going to see negative wise. That's a collapse unlike most I've ever seen. I think I've ever seen in the car world. And we've ragged on it quite a bit, but with good reason. Here's one that we've never talked about. I've never asked your opinion on minis, because minis, they kind of fly under the radar. I know so many people that love these cars.
Yeah.
So here we're looking at the 25 Mini Cooper Works. What do you think? Like, I've never gotten your opinion on a Mini.
Mini doesn't fit what I like about cars, but it fits what a lot of people like about cars, right? There's a lot of people that love ripping those around. Mm-hmm. They are, I mean, the ones I've driven, they're fun to drive. I don't like the design. I'm not a Mini Cooper design fan, but if you are a fan of the design, you're going to be a fan of their cars, because they are fun to rip around town. They drive like they're on rails. It's fun. It's a fun car to go do, windy road drives with, things like that. But it's just never spoken to me. I just don't like the design. It almost feels like a better designed VW Bug is what I've always kind of looked at them as, to be honest.
Yeah, that interior, that big circular thing.
It never hit with me.
Not at all, man. That tack is just brutally.
No, but I'll say this. The people that love them are diehards, and that's one of those things that you and I will probably die on this hill, man. If that's your thing, buy them.
Hell yeah. Motor Trend, or rather Car and Driver, had this whole article, which I thought I had pulled up, and I was going to say your LX has some competition because the Bronco Sport is doubling down on its off-road capabilities. I don't know if you knew this.
I mean, come on, man.
Please.
The Bronco Sport in person is an atrocity.
Excuse me? Excuse me? You were talking shit about the Fiero, and you're going to say this?
No. I was not talking shit about. Don't put that Fiero slander on me.
I'm sorry. I mistakenly forgot the name, and it was considered talking shit about the Fiero, or some kind of a blasphemous.
Yeah, I think now one thing they did get right with Bronco Sport. If you look at the MSRP, that's what they got right.
Yeah,
they are priced right. 30. You can get into one for 32 grand essentially. Obviously, it's probably not the one you want. It's rolling on steelies and doesn't have a lot of frills to it. But I mean, if you're somewhere under 40 grand for a Bronco Sport, I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong. I just think I've never been a fan of. They did the Bronco a lot of justice, and then the Bronco Sport is kind of an afterthought. Is kind of when I see them, I just go, I think I would just probably save my money a little bit and just get a lower cost Bronco if I was going to be in the market for the Bronco.
Yeah, when we test drove it, just because we want to see what it was all about, and I thought to myself, I really wish they just would have modernized the Escape. I wish they would have made the Escape the next evolution of what it was, because I loved that thing personally. I thought it was a great little thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially, were you a Dexter fan? Your boy Dexter used to drive that back and forth to the crime scenes.
I wasn't, but that's a really good callback. Talking about shows, man, I actually had it on my list to say, are you still watching Suits?
No. I saw that Hyundai. I was out. I can't.
Were you? Just that one Hyundai just ended the show for
now,
me.
We'll have somebody bring this up. I know. I forget who brought it up, but Mobland supposedly great cars. Great cars. So I got to maybe check out the show Mobland. Evidently got some good metal on the.
Okay, Mobland. I'll put it on the list right now. But the reason I bring it up, the 2025 Hyundai Elantra DCT first drive under 40K. Is it the most enjoyable car under $40,000? Come on, that doesn't speak to you. I know your boy from BMW did a lot of the interior work, a lot of the design work.
Yeah, I would say this. I think Hyundai has done an awesome job with how the cars look. I think anybody that tries to... Did you see they released the Genesis Grand Coupe concept?
No, I didn't see that,
looks unbelievable. I just kind of say the same thing. I don't trust their drivetrain and their engines at this point because I just didn't hear enough. I always tell people, go look at the Lexus LS 400 story. We locked people in a room for 7 years or 8 years to make sure we built the best drivetrain we could build. I haven't heard that story out of Hyundai, and what I feel like Hyundai is now, and I'm not saying it's going to be this way in the future, because maybe they are investing heavily in making these better from an engine and drivetrain situation, is that I still think it's a brand putting a lot of lipstick on a pig. I do believe that. Okay, that's why I wouldn't pay $100 grand for a Genesis. It's like, where's the story of... We took $10 billion and we fixed our engine problems. And now we have a true luxury built engine drivetrain as well to go with all of our cool design. That's why Hyundai doesn't speak to me. That's why the Genesis stuff doesn't speak to me. Because I just haven't heard that. I've heard a lot of the hires of, hey, we brought guys from the M program to make it handle better. Cool. Are your engines still blowing up? Like that, it's time to take the big boy step here.
Yeah, I know somebody personally right now going through one of these Kia debacles where they're pretty much out of luck at this point. Like they've been trying to go the lemon route and it's just not going their way, and they're just they have to eat like a lot of damage.
If you know anybody that works at a Kia or a Hyundai dealership, one of the things that's been for 20 plus years that I've been doing this, you will not believe how many dealerships have cars sitting in the back waiting on a crate engine to replace an engine. I mean, that's just a part of their business model. And I get, we said this before, every manufacturer goes through issues. Kia and Hyundai in specific have been replacing engines at a fairly large number for a very, very long time. That is what I have an issue. Hyundai has done an unbelievable job with design. Point blank, period. You can't argue with the amount of time and energy they've put into design. Where's the article of we locked 10 engineers in a room and we fixed our engine problems? That story's not coming out. That story's not being told, which means it's not happening. And now you want to suddenly have people pay $100,000+ for cars. There's the Jeep Wagoneer problem.
Right.
Okay? The Jeep Wagoneer problem is, where's the story of all this money you put in to actually fix the Jeep issues to get me convinced you have a $100,000 vehicle. The story's not there. So I just don't believe in those types of companies going into luxury. And we're talking about the Elantra here. Under 40 grand, it's probably fine to buy. There is a likelihood that you could be replacing an engine. So, I just don't think that's a great thing to just keep glossing over and saying, well, the cars are designed well. It's like, yeah, except they're still replacing engines at a pretty large clip.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to take that risk? I mean, it's up to you, but
Or how about just pay, $40,000 on the used market of a Toyota, of a Honda, of whatever, because 50,000 miles on a Honda is probably in a better shape engine-wise than a $40,000 Elantra.
Last week we talked about, speaking of flying under the radar, I guess, with the Mini and some of these other cars, we talked about the Lincolns, and I had a couple people say, hey, I said a couple of buddies that have, their moms have Lincolns, so I had people say, hey, my friend's mom's got a Lincoln too, and this one came across my page, the 2025 Lincoln Crossair Grand Touring plug-in. I mean, that looks nice. Am I just sleeping on Lincoln overall, or is this like a newer looking, like,
Lincoln's design language has been pretty elite since they redesigned the Navigator, and then you had the Aviator come. Now then you had the Corsair come, but they had a huge issue inside the Aviator, which I think kind of stemmed the growth of the Aviator and the smaller mid-sized SUV for Lincoln. They now have to go back to the drawing board and kind of re-engage that mid-sized buyer on dependability, because they did have huge issue with the Aviator. They had some real serious issues. So this would fit in the exact same thing. But again, design language,
awesome.
Lincolns look great.
I mean, this Grand Touring, it opens up at $55K. So, I mean, it's up there, but it's not like crazy.
Yeah. No, and this is where you get to, this is what makes pricing a vehicle like the Wagoneer so out of whack. Because you go, this is where it hurts you, because you see Ford prices it right. Doesn't mean Ford's doing everything perfectly, but you can't misprice things and expect to win in the market. When your brand is not a $100,000 brand, you can't have a $100,000 car, right? The one thing you just said is, here's Lincoln, here's a mid-sized SUV, plug-in hybrid, looks awesome.
Looks great, yeah.
Good color combinations, great design language. If their reliability is right, and you're talking about getting it for $55,000, that's a pretty hard vehicle to beat.
Yeah, I think a lot of moms are going to be driving these in the near future. Like, if they creep up with like, oh, they tested really well, they had ratings,
Exactly,
and take
right.
those ratings for whatever you want, right? Because people will say, oh, well, Motor Trend's this or this publication's that. Okay, I'm just saying, if they say it's great and then you go drive it and it sells you on it, I see a lot of moms driving these in the near future.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people, up until it was very clear Aviator had some manufacturing issues, I used to point a lot of people to Aviator and say, hey, go check it out. Not saying buy one, go get in it. But I've told people on this podcast for a long time, and I have customers that are absolutely in love with the Navigator. I got two neighbors that left Escalade. They're in Navigators now. They're not going to go back as long as Navigator keeps it up. I mean, they look great. I mean, Lincoln's done an awesome job with design.
Yeah, it's funny the knee-jerk reaction of the people that had, when we do the Navigator versus Escalade, the knee-jerk reaction is you're out of your mind when you say that it's better
Sure.
than the black light. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I think you just really got to go experience it, or up close, or hands-on, especially.
Well, and that's what we find out is a lot of people make a lot of, and I would say, forget the commenters. A lot of people make up their mind because they've never been around the other options.
Right.
Right? So I'm an Escalade person. Cool. Have you driven any other large SUVs? Not really. Well, okay, man, then you don't really have a balanced opinion on what's going on in the market. You just like Escalade, which is cool. Go buy the Escalade. But don't tell me it's the best one when you've not driven anything else.
Right. All right, dude. I got two more cars. We've been talking a lot about new cars, imports, tariffs, all that stuff. I just got to get your input on these. Here we got Kia, speaking of, it's going to build an electric pickup truck. That's exactly what it needs.
Hey, that doesn't look half bad.
You know what it looks like? Please tell me you know what this looks like.
The old Avalanche.
Yes, see? Same wavelength. I actually, minus all the shitty plastic, I kind of like the old Avalanche.
Absolutely. Old Avalanche, old Cadillac EXT. Awesome.
Yep.
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, no.
I don't care what anybody says, Rob.
I think we all know that. We know where Nick lies on stuff like that. But yeah, look at this. I mean, the back could use a little bit of work, but not bad.
Hey, what's the Santa Cruz?
Yes.
The Hyundai Santa Cruz. I see those around. I'm like, it's a reasonable idea.
Yeah.
It's a reasonable idea. This is a reasonable idea. Now, let's game plan this out for Kia, for Hyundai. Guys, if it's electric and it's not sub 50 grand, you lost. You
It's
lost.
true. And you know what helps though is that if you really look at it closer, those it almost looks like this should be on Midnight Club Dub Edition, the video. With big timers playing in the background.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
That's good looking wheel. Good size.
Great looking wheels. Great looking. Hey, that's a great looking color.
It is.
Yeah, no. That again, they tell you that's $46,000. You're having a conversation. But my guess is it's going to be 62 grand.
I was gonna say 4. I was like, 40? That's no.
Yeah, they're going to be like, it's 62,000, and everybody's going to be like, what?
You're gonna be like, you know
grand.
what we got away with a Telluride? You know what we're gonna do with this thing? You've seen nothing yet.
They're just going to forget that COVID happened. Remember when we were selling Tellurides for 83 grand?
All right. So here's one that I just can't wait to get your thoughts on. We've got a new Armada. We have an Armada Pro 4FX, I think it is. Have you seen this thing?
Ugh. What did they do?
Well, they tried to go a little off-roady, a little futuristic.
Okay, so let's talk about this off-road, which, by the way, isn't a bad idea for them.
But we said Xterra already. They already had it.
Xterra was the move. We know that. Agreed with you 100%. Here's the problem with this. This is, by the way, the problem on the new square body Land Cruiser that's out. Look how small these tires are.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right.
That angle actually looks good, though.
It looks good until you see the front. Until you see the front. Then you're like, what's the... And by the way, that grill is heinous.
It's terrible. It's like almost Hyundai-ish.
Yeah, so this is what I would say. Guys, if you're going to build an off-road, you can't put just normal stock tires on it and go, well, you can upgrade them. It's like, no, that looks stupid in person. I'm not going to buy that. Like I saw a guy driving an all blacked out Land Cruiser when I was driving home last night. I think these tires might have fit like a Hyundai Santa Fe. They might have been just a good swap. I'm like, well, that's what they're selling at the deal. And by the way, I guarantee this guy paid like $69,500.
I was going to say for $70,000.
Yeah, and I'm like, this just isn't right. So what's happening is these companies are building or trying to go after off-road, and then they're like, yeah, what tires are we going to slap on those? Oh, just the ones down there at the end of the line. We got plenty of those. It's like, no. Guys, please size the tire and the wheel properly. If you look at that vehicle, you already have some questionable design decisions on the front end, but if the tires were sized right for something considered off-road, I don't think you'd be looking at it so poorly.
I agree. Actually, I have one more for you. How could I forget this? I saw this earlier in the week, and it somehow didn't end up on my notes. This is something we won't get in the States, but I really wish we did. The 2026 Ford Ranger Super Duty.
Yeah, buddy.
Come on. Tell me that's not awesome.
By the way, another problem. Cool Ford Ranger with tires that are too small.
Yeah, the tires are pretty small. I like the wheels, though. I do like a smaller wheel with a meatier tire.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's just not the right tire. So, yeah, that looks, I tell you what, man, that's got potential.
Man, that looks cool.
That looks really cool. Hey, there you go. Hey, you want to put some feed on the farm?
Hell yeah. Dude, in style, too. The cows are going to be like, oh, shit.
You know what I think? Too many of these cats in the design place are watching Yellowstone. It's like, buddy, this isn't what most people use it for.
We moved on. We moved on from that COVID phase where everybody wanted to move to fucking Montana.
We all wanted to move to Montana.
Yeah, trust me. It's not as fun as you think it is on the show, okay? It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, come on. It looks great.
It looks great. I hate the vertical tablet in these Fords.
Really? That's your dividing line?
Yes. Why? Wait, what's wrong with that?
I just think this is the era we're in. You're just going to have to suck that one up.
No. Because they went back on it in the States. The old Edge ST and the, I think, Explorer ST, they had these vertical. Now they don't have them anymore.
Well, maybe you were right. I mean, look, sometimes we got to say Rob was right. I mean, what do you want me to say? You got to pat yourself on the back.
Let me pat yourself on the back.
Look, I will say this. I mean, I know that you're right that vertical thing can be too much. There's some cars that are so uninteresting, they got to just do that because they got to make it interesting. They're like, hey, look, we got this vertical iPad in here. It's kind of like what the Tesla interior, you got to have that big screen or otherwise you look around and go, what am I paying for?
Yeah, it's just like it's almost like an insane asylum, like just a cushioned room where it's like, why is it
I just love when people say, you can watch Netflix in here. It's like, what are you talking? I just watch Netflix on my big screen at my house. Like, what
do you hate your life? You're just gonna drive and watch TV?
Here's the thing: when you got to charge for an hour and a half, they're probably all right. You do need something to do.
Dude, there's a Five Guys that I frequent. Not the Five Guys, but like an area with a Five Guys with an area that I frequent. And there's a huge charging station there. And there's always, they're packed. There's always people there just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Same
I can
here.
Spend an hour doing shit with the kids, getting their haircuts, doing this, doing that, and then I go out and like same car, still there. 40 minutes later.
Yeah, dude, we have had a huge influx of Tesla charging stations in our area. My zip code, people have no idea about, Las Vegas. Let me tell you this. We got one of the fastest growing zip codes in the world, like where center of my house at this point. Okay. The amount of charging stations going up in every shopping center it really is astonishing. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, we're talking, we just had probably 50 thrown up in an existing shopping center that's been there for a while. Like they just built like a whole area.
Do you think, and we haven't ever really talked about the charging network and the supercharging network and all that, but do you think this actually moves in a direction where it actually helps electrify America in the long run?
Well, yeah. So for everybody that doesn't know the truth about the charging network, it was all done as a penalty to Volkswagen for the Dieselgate. So that's why it's so poorly done. Let's say, but look, everything in the EV space hinges on being able to charge my car nearly as fast as I can gas up a car. Anybody telling you differently is just an EV cultist. If I can, everyone can say, I hate EV. That's cool. But if you knew you could supercharge your EV in 5 minutes and have enough power, for let's say a few days or 3 days or 5 days of getting around your city, I think it changes the EV conversation tomorrow. Now, everybody might say, well, that's obvious. It's not obvious to everybody because there's people still defending like, oh, it's no big deal to sit here for 40 minutes. I'll just go. It's like, no, it's a big deal. Yeah. Getting from Las Vegas to San Diego, let's say to the northern part of San Diego, which they call North County, San Diego. Let's say you can do that pretty reliably in, 4.5 to 5 hours and 15 minutes. Okay. Somewhere in there, depending on traffic. I know people who've never owned a Tesla that tour-rode Teslas, and that was now 8.5 hours.
Jeez.
Okay, and I can give people their phone number, and you can see I'm not lying. They'll be like, yeah, we did it a couple times. We tried it. And again, when you talk about that is a problem because we are in a world of convenience. Everything we do is convenient, i.e., that's why Bezos has such a big yacht. Okay.
The guy from Harbor Freight, an even bigger yacht.
Yeah. A couple of my clients that these yachts get built for a reason. And a lot of them get built for a reason in today's world of, did you make people's life more convenient?
True.
Right? So if we all know that, let's stop burying the lead on EVs. I don't want a 5-hour trip to take 8.5 hours, and you tell me I'm the knucklehead. That doesn't work. Okay.
Let's go to the complete opposite spectrum of EVs as we wrap up the show here and land this plane. I heard by a little birdie this birdie being Nick, that Ferrari might be bringing back the gated shifter. So I actually found the article where I saw the headline. Ferrari may bring back the gated manual shifter in special models. All right, you love these kind of cars. What's the word? Is it worth it? Is it real? Because I've sat in one. I don't think they're the most enjoyable.
They have to do it.
Tell me.
They have to do it. Here is what. So I have several clients that can get whatever Ferrari comes out that they want. They're that level of Ferrari buyer.
Right.
The SF90 was the car. So Ferrari's business model is very easy to understand. You buy all these crappy cars that you lose money on, like the Roma and the California and whatever. And then you get on a list and you get all the special cars. And the special cars have always made up the difference, right? Because when you sell your special car or you want to sell your special car, you kind of get all your money back.
Right.
That was the Ferrari business model. 12 cylindry, not doing well, which is one of those special cars that's supposed to get you all your money back. SF90 was supposed to get you all your money back. Not only did it not get your money back, you lost half your money. So they're going through a problem here. And when we talk to Ferrari for our customers, and I would say for my customers, people are bored. Like we've been telling Motor Trend, stop talking about 0 to 60 times. We've solved it. You can only put so much power where it's interesting. So another 800 horsepower car to people that already have a bunch of 800 horsepower cars isn't interesting anymore. You can't make them interesting enough. Okay? Right. Like it just, people don't want to hear this. But let's say Ferrari comes to you and goes, we're bringing the gated manual back. We're going to build a 550 horsepower, unbelievably looking, designed, manual. You'll have some of the creature comforts that you want, but now you're back into this visceral, analog type of driving experience. You're going to see the special buyers be like, yeah, I want that. Because I can tell you this, my clients that have F430s with gated manuals, they're driving those before they're driving an SF90.
And that's what we get in a lot of the comments. It's just cars are soulless now. They're not enjoyable to drive. There's no connection with the machine, man and machine kind of thing. And yeah, that kind of speaks exactly what we're talking about. So when you have people that have all the money to buy whatever they want and there's nothing that amuses them, I guess you do have to make the change.
Well, and also when you solve something, it becomes less interesting. We've solved horsepower. We can put as much horsepower as the tires and the car can handle at this point in time. That doesn't mean that the car's more fun to drive. Because I can tell people this all the time, and I talk to this, especially people that are new to buying their third car, their fourth car. This is, I think, what Porsche has solved. Porsches are not high horsepower machines in modern standards, but they're more engaging.
I'm so glad you brought up Porsche. You want to finish that thought?
Yeah, I just think people need to understand that there's a lot of guys that I push towards things that are 450 to 500 horsepower, but maybe have a manual in them or have a really engaging transmission, even if it's not manual. And they're always happier because when they buy the 800 horsepower car, they're like, yeah, this is really fast. And that is sort of the end of the conversation. It's not, this car's interesting, this car's awesome, but they can get into a 450 horsepower car that maybe is a manual and they go, man, I just love driving that thing around. And this is what Porsche has solved. Porsche realizes, number one, they can't keep adding horsepower to the way that they build their engines. But the fact of the matter is, there comes a point where, and most people who are very, very highly technical drivers will say that number's about 550 horsepower. You get above 550 horsepower for most people, it's just not that interesting. I'm not saying they aren't cool, that they exist. I'm saying what people who know this and do this for a living go, yeah, man, a nice 500 horsepower car that handles really well, that's kind of the sweet spot. And if Ferrari wants to bring some specialness back, you bring the gated manual back, you're going to bring special back.
I love the people who, no matter what, I was seeing someone else on a smaller, even smaller car show and a bigger car show talk about cars with certain power, and the guest was talking about, look, you really just want, like you said, somewhere around like 450, 500, good tires, a good suspension setup, and the comments are filled with, you're retarded, like 1,200 horsepower, I drive my Supra all the time, it's super enjoyable, it's super dailyable, it's just like, oh my God, relax for starters. But second of, did you see our boy Ventra's video here recently? Because he brought up Porsche. Did you see it?
Oh, did he drive the Carrera GT?
Yeah, did you see it?
Hey, he found out about that clutch.
Let's go.
I'm driving this Porsche Carrera GT. I normally talk through all my videos, but for this one, I'm going to let the car do the talking because no one's clamoring to hear about how the hardtop panels stack away in the front or about how satisfying it is to clip them in using these tailored leather belts or how interesting it is that it has a little door pocket. We're all really just here for this.
I mean, get ready, people. Turn the volume up right now.
We need to make this the entrance to our podcast.
Oh my god! So fun.
Man, that sounds so good.
Today,
It's so fun. You don't hear that from most of the cars in today's world.
No, so I've driven 3 Carrera GTs. I have been part of a complete engine out rebuild of a Carrera GT. Obviously, I didn't do the engine work, but we did everything else.
Right.
And it's hard to put into words that Porsche, that thing, compared to most other cars you see. Now, mind you, one of the engine out rebuilds right next to it was a Diablo, was an LFA. Like, you know, I'm next to all these cars that we would all want to own.
Yeah.
And you go, but I really want to drive this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
It's got the engine.
So, but I did have a situation, and the Carrera GT is a very finicky car. The stories are true. So the guy that did the full engine out rebuild bought the car. He's actually from Vancouver, and came down here. He's got a place here. Does the whole thing. We PPF the whole thing, every inch, windshield protection film, engine's been gone through, taken out of the car, whatever. Here's the most amazing part. He literally drove it down the road and said, I don't trust it. Go ahead and sell it. That's a true story.
Wow. Do you know what he sold it for?
What's that?
Do you know what he sold it for?
Man, I forget what we sold that car for. It was 7 figures at a time when they were kind of headed that way, because he did the engine out, because it was done at such a reputable, like somebody trained by Germany through Porsche. I want to say it was like 1-something, 1-1 maybe, 1-2, but they weren't really going for that at the time. We sold it privately to someone he had kind of a connection to. I think it may have been a friendly deal. If I remember right, this is some years ago, but I'll tell people this. There's a lot of people that drive that car the first time that are very big collectors that are like, I don't want any part of it. Like, I'm dead serious. I mean, like, it's something you love, or it's something you go, I'm going to wreck this thing.
What's the nickname for it? Is it Widowmaker?
The Widowmaker, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. When I drove them, the thing that's off-putting is the clutch, right? The clutch is you know, and I think Vin says this in his video, you know, the clutch was very hard for him to get a good feel for. Obviously, he's a great driver and has driven a lot of special cars and knows what he's doing. The clutch is very finicky. It feels finicky. It feels solid. You know, you don't think it's like cheaply made or something like. It's not the feel. But you got a lot of people that could spin that thing out of control very, very quickly. And by the way, they do all the time. I mean, there's guys that just get lucky that they haven't wrecked them. And at the end of the day, that is on the short list for me. You know, I've driven an F40 and an F50. I would say for me, Carrera GT is in that very short list of, if you get a chance in life, that's one of the special ones.
Well, that's a great way to wrap the podcast. That is this week's episode. Follow Nick at HyperClean Nick at HyperClean Store. The show is everywhere on the internet at Clutch Culture Pod. I'm at Rob GTV. And Nick, we will see everybody next week.
All right, guys.